Trade Secrets is brought to you by Reuter Ware, business attorneys for business success, and by the Judd S. Alexander Foundation, supporting quality of life and economic development in Marathon County.
Hi, I'm Stuart Etten, president of Reuter Ware Law Firm. Without businesses, communities would not thrive. And without communities, businesses wouldn't, well, have a place to do business. At Reuter Ware Law Firm, we've been providing counsel to Wisconsin business leaders and been a big part of our community for generations. So you could say we know a little bit about what it takes for the two to work together. That's why we're honored to present Trade Secrets here on Wisconsin Eye. It's a new series that shares candid conversations between successful Wisconsin business leaders and lets you, the audience, in on what it takes to cultivate both business and community in our great state. From Reuter Ware, thanks for watching and enjoy the show.
One CEO travels to a company to meet another CEO and gets a tour. They talk business, challenges, share stories. Then the host CEO travels to another company, meets the new CEO, gets the tour. They talk business, challenges, share stories. Then we do it all over again. You get the picture. A chain of CEOs traveling around the state, meeting each other, talking business, sharing stories. That's Trade Secrets, CEO to CEO.
The state of Wisconsin, with access to natural resources and power generated by its many rivers, was seen as a land of opportunity. For Elijah D. Smith, that opportunity was too good to ignore. So in 1850, Elijah, accompanied by his wife Julia, left Rhode Island and traveled 1,000 miles over land and lake to Menasha, Wisconsin. In Menasha, for the sum of $1,200, Elijah purchased a struggling wooden pail factory. Then, Elijah's business was about making wooden storage containers for retailers, manufacturers, and everyday Wisconsinites. Imagine wheat traveling in wooden barrels, candy displayed in wooden buckets, and butter in wooden tubs. As rail transportation improved, the need for containers that transported those goods grew too, making Elijah's company the largest wooden ware factory in Wisconsin at the time. With business and consumer needs changing, the company transformed itself in the 1920s from a manufacturer of wooden pails and buckets to one producing an entirely new product, corrugated containers. This bold decision and the ability to adapt proved key to the company's survival. Flashing forward to the 1950s, Menasha again adapted, adding plastic containers to its product line with the purchase of the G.B. Lewis Company of Watertown, Wisconsin. Today, Menasha is comprised of two companies, Menasha Packaging Company and Orbis Corporation. Menasha Packaging creates retail-focused graphic packaging and merchandising products for food, household, health and beauty, and pharmaceutical markets, in addition to corrugated shipping containers. No longer candy pails with fanciful illustrations, but packaging and displays which attract attention and inform customers at the point of purchase. Orbis makes returnable plastic containers, pallets, and protective interiors, and with select customers, manages their supply chain flow with these products. The Orbis line of products serves many leading companies in the automotive, food, beverage, and consumer goods industries. Leading today's Menasha Corporation is President and Chief Executive Officer James M. Kotak. Kotak, a 23-year veteran of the company who took on the role of CEO 5 years ago, has made a series of strategic acquisitions in new markets and with innovative new products, serving new groups of customers. Under his leadership, Menasha has seen significant growth in the business, which Kotak attributes to the strong company culture and employees' passion for providing outstanding everyday service to customers. In the century and a half since Elijah made his $1,200 investment, Menasha has grown as a multi-generational enterprise, employing nearly 4,900 employees nationally, 1,430 based in its 9 Wisconsin facilities, with sales exceeding $1.5 billion. And though you may never see the Menasha brand in the stores and factories where its products appear, a family's vision from 166 years ago, combined with today's leadership provided by Jim Kotak, along with the skills of those who work there, continue to sustain one of the oldest family-owned manufacturing companies in the nation.
Hi, I'm Rich Musin, Chairman, President, and CEO of Badger Meter from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this is Trade Secrets CEO to CEO. Now, if you saw our last episode, you saw that I hosted Catherine Gale of the Gale Company at my plant in Milwaukee. And we had a great discussion about Wisconsin business. Well, now I'm up in the Fox Valley, and I'm at Menasha Corporation, where we're going to have a discussion about their business, and I'm going to be meeting Jim Kotak, the CEO of Menasha Corporation. Menasha has two really interesting businesses. Menasha Packaging, where they make a lot of the packaging products that you'll recognize on shelves when you go shopping. And they also make large plastic reusable containers. So we'll be taking a look at some of those also. I think you'll find this to be a really interesting episode. So let's go inside and meet Jim Kotak. Jim, good morning.
Good morning, Rich.
So good to see you again. And thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this and do this. As another CEO, I know how busy life can be for you. It's just great you're willing
I'm
to do
glad
this.
to have you here, and thanks for making the trip
Great,
up to
great.
Neenah.
We're wearing vests. We've got safety glasses. I noticed you put tape over your wedding ring. I took mine off.
Absolutely. Today we're visitors out there on the floor, and people need to be able to identify us.
Earplugs.
Hearing protection, steel-toed shoes, eye protection, and yeah, I've even covered up my ring, and frankly, it's part of our requirements for being out on the plant floor.
Great.
So we need to abide by them. Every one of our employees needs to abide by them.
Thank you.
Very good. Why don't we head on out in the plant? The room that we're in is a recent plant expansion. This opened up in the past year. The equipment is brand new. We're still getting things a bit settled in here, but what we're intending to do here is store raw material here and then cut it down to size.
So this is a perfect example of Wisconsin's growing manufacturing base.
Absolutely.
You're actually expanding here in Wisconsin, creating jobs in Wisconsin.
With Wisconsin equipment, with Wisconsin employees,
Right.
absolutely.
And a lot of Wisconsin paper. And so this paper then gets printed on, and this is what we see at a grocery store when we look at a display.
You'll see displays. You'll also see some products that go on the shelf inside a grocery store. Again, starts with raw material. We cut it to size. Later, we're going to move on into the next room where we print on the paper and where we then die cut it, and later we'll fold it and glue it. But we're going to walk through the entire process here today.
So Jim, this is where that paper that we saw getting cut gets printed on?
Absolutely. We saw the stacks of paper get sheeted to size. It's then fed into the printing equipment, and it goes through the printing process. And on this piece of equipment, we're able to measure every one of those colors to make sure it conforms with our requirements. If need be, we can dial each of the colors in to even a tighter specification. Quality, when it comes to printing, is a very, very important differentiator with our customers. There's a lot of technology in this equipment. There's a big investment that goes into this equipment.
All designed to get the colors just right.
Absolutely precise. So for example, when a retailer says, when Frito-Lay says, I need this shade of red, it cannot be off, even to the smallest of amounts.
Right.
This kind of equipment helps us to do just that.
Amazing. Thank you. At Badger Meter, one of the things that we focus on is safety, both safety in our products and safety of our employees. What do you do here? Do you have a focus on that here at Menasha?
Metrics are so critical with everything we do, and there's no metric more important than our metrics around safety. In fact, Rich, we're standing here this morning in the room where our shifts begin the day, where we talk about the day and what's going on out there on the plant floor. And specifically, we challenge our employees. We have a program at Menasha called our Safety Snag program, where we challenge employees to bring forth ideas of what are they seeing out there that could create a potential issue.
This is about your greatest asset.
This is about our greatest asset. Our people are everything. If we're not providing an environment where they feel comfortable coming to work,
where they are looking out for their neighbor, where we're giving it the kind of care that's necessary. Frankly, we're really letting them down. So it is one of those, it's an A+ value that permeates across our company.
So now, Jim, these printed sheets are brought over here for what?
We came out of the printing room, and now we're in the die cutting area of the plant. This is a folded product it's a Lipton product. Again, it's been die cut. First we printed it, then we die cut it, and now you see stacks of the completed product at this step in the working process, and then it'll be moved over into our folding gluing area where it'll be completed.
But Jim, it looks like you make millions of these. I mean, the volume is just incredible.
We do make millions of them. A product like this has the costs that go into it, of course, are our raw materials. We have costs related to our labor and our equipment, but literally this is a fairly low-cost kind of item to the end customer. And to have a business that'll sustain itself, you need to be making millions of them.
This came off these die cutters here, but it seems to me like there's a lot of little pieces that get cut and turn into scrap. What happens to them?
Now, as you can see, if you look back at the equipment, above each piece of equipment, you see a stainless tube. All of the scrap that's die cut out of here goes up in that tube and is sucked over to a baling system where the raw material is recycled.
So this is it, Jim. This is where all those little scraps of paper end up?
Absolutely. What we saw it leave the die cut equipment through those stainless steel tubes. It's pumped up through. This is a piece of baling equipment where it is tightly baled together, and then these individual bales are sent back to the paper mill where new rolls of paper are made. And frankly, the processes today, you are able to create a high quality roll of material from recycled material. It's absolutely fabulous.
So this is the next step, Jim?
Yeah, this is the next step. This is the final step. If you remember, we started in the sheeter room. We then saw the material, the sheets get printed. We saw it get die cutted, and now we're in the folder gluer room. We saw the die cut material. We saw these baggies that were produced, and now the creases are put into the box. It's glued, and ultimately, it's on this end of the equipment. It's packaged into the final product before it can be shipped off to the customer. It's interesting, we can go out in the plant and we can see how things are done and manufactured, but it all starts with our designers. It starts with our people who have merchandising expertise, who understand what our retailers are looking for. So there's a lot of upfront time spent. And I'm going to give you an example here. This is a Hershey's product, where Hershey's came to us and they said, we're looking for some new ideas where product can go on the shelf to increase the lift, the level of sales of that product. In this case, it's their giant Hershey's bars. And what they're wanting to do is to reduce the level of labor that also goes out there on the floor. And so we designed, a corrugated shipping box where on the floor, you're literally able to tear it away, put the box on the shelf, put the finished product on the shelf. You're getting a higher cube utilization of the shelf, a nice display. This then can be turned into recycling. This is product that's made at two different facilities of ours.
So it's like a box within a box?
It's a box within a box. We call it sales lift packaging.
So you just take it on the shop floor, pull it off, lift it off, and there's your display.
It provides labor efficiency for the retailer. It provides safety. This is a tearaway box, so nobody's out here on the floor cutting the box where you're risking safety issues. It's really a very innovative design, and we work with, in this case, Hershey's, on tracking this concept. How has it changed the level of sales on the floor with incredible results? So a very nifty idea, and it takes some very creative,
innovation.
creative people.
Right. Yeah. The jobs you have on your shop floor, the jobs I have on my shop floor, they require talent. They require education. You can't drop out of high school and come here and take one of these jobs because you're expected to be able to read instructions and provide reports and do analysis. And those types of jobs require a higher level of talent, either a high school degree or a technical school or something beyond.
Rich, there's no doubt. I mean, whether you go out to one of our pieces of die cutting equipment or a printing press, or we started the day in the sheeter room, every one of those pieces of equipment has a computer screen.
has gauges that are monitoring quality systems, that are monitoring throughput. It takes a certain aptitude, a certain training. Now, is it an absolute, you've got to go to college if you want to run a printing press? That's not necessary. But you have to have a certain mindset that you're going to be committed to training and self-development.
Jim, I explained earlier that Menasha Corporation has really two distinct businesses. The Menasha Packaging, and we saw some of that, the printing and the die cutting and the making of the cartons. And now we're over at Orbis, and Orbis is more of a plastic container company. Can you tell us about some of these products?
Absolutely. Orbis is a manufacturer, a designer of plastic returnable packaging. Now, there's a whole range of products. Here's one, for example. This is a dairy crate. So the milkman, he puts 4 gallons of milk in here. He takes them to the local Quick Trip gas station. The milk gets put on the store shelves in the cooler, and the empty then gets taken back to the dairy.
So like so many things in the manufacturing world, people will look at this and say, there's no technology here. This is a simple little plastic crate. How could there be technology built into it? But we're standing in a laboratory, in an Orbis laboratory, right?
Yeah. Well, there's technology on a number of dimensions. There's technology through materials. There's technology through design, and I want to comment on both of them. I mean, a simple little container like this has features. Some of the features will be patented features. How the handles embrace the hand, how the corners are designed so they can withstand weight load, how the bottoms are designed so that they interlock with the container below them. Unique design features. But there's also technology. You mentioned we're in a lab. We happen to be in a materials lab. What we do is we test different materials for performance. We're also looking for optimal price points so that we can bring the best value to the customer. But the other things we do is we'll take a product, a competitor's product, and we'll say, how is the competitor able to design to offer this product to the marketplace? What is in that material? So we will take samples of the material and we will run them through our lab and we'll test the properties of our competitor's product.
Can you show us?
Absolutely. This is what we call an Ftir machine, where we are testing essentially what is the plastic material. We'll take a small sample of it, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to run an infrared light through the plastic. And then we take that fingerprint and we match it up against essentially a known library of different types of plastic. And we match it up and we can look at the graph versus the library, and we can draw a conclusion. I mean, it tells us how the product will perform. It'll tell us about how that product is priced into the market.
You know, I think what's interesting here, Jim, is throughout this series of CEO to CEO, where we went to Harkin and we went to Gale Foods, Badger Meter, and now to Menasha. In every case, we've seen that what we thought was a very simple product, a very simple process, was in reality a very highly complex, scientific, difficult process that has taken decades and decades to hone in every case. Manufacturing is really no longer about just buying a machine, throwing some raw materials in, and producing a product.
Absolutely not.
There's a lot more involved in every case.
Absolutely not. What I'd like to do now, Rich, is I'd like to walk us around the corner into another part of our testing area. For this testing, while in the lab here we're testing raw materials, where we're going to go now is we're going to look at the testing of the end product, containers and pallets, and the rigor we put those through. So if we want to head on over.
Great.
All right.
All right, Matt. Wow.
All right. Well, Rich, that is an impact test of a plastic pallet. And again, what we simulated was a plastic pallet running into the fork tines of a fork truck. Again, what we think is a very real environment. And then we would examine the pallet for any damage.
And it doesn't look like there's any damage, but you'll keep doing it from a further and further distance.
Exactly. We'll take a further distance, increase the speed, increase the incline.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we want to see under what kind of environment the pallet will destruct itself.
Right.
That way we are able to know the parameters as we market that pallet.
We do the same thing with our meters. We pump water pressure into them until they explode. We want to know at what point they explode. Yeah. The same sort of thing.
Yeah. Again, a commitment to materials testing and product testing, a very important part of what we do.
And what we've seen all day here at Menasha, which is quality, quality, quality. You want to make sure the product performs for the customer like it's supposed to. Jim, I don't think I've ever seen bulk containers stacked quite this high. Are these all empty, and what's the purpose of all this?
Yeah, well, let me explain. Where we are now is we're in Orbis's finished goods product testing lab. And in this lab, we do a whole range of testing. And just as you're observing, these are large bulk containers. Each one of them has weight inside of them. In fact, we have sandbags, but very much like this. We have sandbags to the tune of each container has about 2,000 pounds in it. And so what we're really doing is this is a compression test where over a period of from 2 to 4 weeks, we're looking at how plastic performs.
That's not the only test you do here. You've got other ones.
No, there's other testing we do here also. Yeah, as we move a little bit to the right here, we very simply call this our environmental chamber, where we take plastic products and we put them in the chamber. We can cool the chamber or we can heat up the chamber. Test the product. How does the design of the product in combination with the materials perform under a cold application? Likewise, we can heat up the product up to about 120 degrees. Now over here we've got some other testing equipment. This is compression testing over time, and here we're able to speed it up, do a faster test. It doesn't replicate necessarily the real life environment, but we're able to see performance over a very short period of time, literally minutes or hours as opposed to days and weeks.
We're both CEOs of very old companies. Badger Meter's 110 years old. Menasha is what?
165 years.
165, so you're a little older than me.
A little bit.
A little bit. People don't realize that in that period of time, every company kind of develops a culture. They develop their own identity. And how important is that culture and maintaining it?
It's critical, and you know, it starts with the value system that was dear to the founder of our company. In 1849, Elijah Smith founded Menasha Corporation, and there was a set of values that he wanted to build the company around. And those values are really very much still in place and true today. And so whether or not you go to Neenah, Wisconsin, or to Philadelphia, or to Urbana, Ohio, those values are what we look for when we hire people. Those values are what we look for and we expect all of our employees to live up to. They define the culture of the company.
Let me ask you another question. Both Badger Meter and Menasha have operations all across the United States, all around the world, and but we're both headquartered in Wisconsin. Why is that, and why do you think that's so important?
You know, first of all, you know, we have incredible employees that make up the base, that make up the leadership.
The talent in Wisconsin, this is what I find.
The talent has been outstanding. You know, sometimes you hear the phrase,
and the work ethic.
Sometimes you hear the phrase, good Midwestern work ethic.
Right.
We certainly have found that true. We have a lot of people employed here in the Fox Valley, today at about 900 people, that are aligned with who we are, that come to work and passionately represent this company and work very hard to deliver value. And so why would you leave when you have so many positives that have served you well literally for generations? It's a great state. We have so many people who are committed to the company and committed to the state, and frankly, it's not a question for our company.
You know, I have 1,500 employees around the world. About half of them are here in Wisconsin, about 650 or so, and it's the same thing. Why would I leave when I have this talent pool here? And the talent pool doesn't get weaker, it just seems to get stronger generation after generation.
You can walk into one of our facilities here in the Fox Valley and you can meet someone and go, you know, you realize this person's father worked at the company and their cousin worked at the company. And you know, our best recruiters are our existing employees.
I run into that all the time where somebody says, my grandmother worked for Badger Meter.
Absolutely, and it's something we take great pride in. But frankly, the values that permeate through those family members then permeate through our company, and that's very exciting.
This has certainly been an interesting day with you, and I hope that people who watch this, the next time they're in a grocery store and they reach for some product, they might think, oh yeah, there's that 165-year-old company that makes this stuff, and they might realize all the work and effort and design and technology and innovation that goes into it.
Our employees, I know they walk through and they smile knowing they had part of some merchandising solutions, whether it's the design, the production, the ultimate distribution of the product. And you know, we're certainly very excited about what Menasha Corporation does, and hopefully this has been educational for everybody.
Jim, thank you so much for taking the time with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Trade Secrets CEO to CEO, where here at Menasha Corporation we met Jim Kotak, the CEO of Menasha. On a future episode, Jim Kotak will be meeting with another great Wisconsin CEO, and we'll learn even more about Wisconsin business.